This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so Dear Azure is an online community which will help you to learn Azure services and product, and it will give you an high overview of all the services of Azure, of course. We will be conducting this free webinar. We have already started this. This is our third webinar. We have started this from August 1st, first week of August, and we are planning to have it on every weekend. That is on Saturdays and Sunday, at least a webinar of 1 hour, and it is absolutely free. We are also in a plan of conducting and meetups for Azure learners, so that in Mumbai and in Chennai, in Pune. So we are on talks. Am I not audible properly?
Yes, audible properly.
Okay, thank you, thank you. You will be having a lot of just I will request you all to follow Dear Azure on its Twitter, its YouTube channel. On its we have the Facebook group also with the same name, Dear Azure. We do have Facebook page. If you are on LinkedIn, we have a company page for Dear Azure. It is not because I want some branding or so. It is just because all the updates regarding the webinars, the meetups, the videos, any new ebook is coming on with Azure. Everything is being updated over this channel, so you will be updated with all the latest updates or news with of Azure. I will not take much time. I know you are all keen to start with knowing about Azure virtual machine. So today we have a speaker as Kishore Chowdary. He's a lead training associate at CodeSizzler. He is also in C# MVP. He do has a mastery in Azure virtual machines, web apps, and all many of the Azure products. I really thankful to Kishore for giving out this time today and presenting this webinar for all of us. Let me also mention we are doing this free webinar because of two supportive pillars. One is CodeSizzler, of course, and the another is 9 Dots Technologies. So the 9 Dots and CodeSizzler are the sponsor for this webinars. So over to you, Kishore. Thank you for
Thank
listening,
you very
bearing me
much.
for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for that introduction. So, hello everyone. Myself, Kishore Chowdary, and Mr. Kasam have already spoke about me. So, I am working as a lead training associate in a company called CodeSizzler. So, we people we go for various corporates across the globe, and we'll be training people out in there on various technologies. So, like Microsoft Azure, and then Google Cloud Platform, Amazon Web Services, and everything. But mostly we people love Azure and we rely on it. So now, speaking about today's topic, it's mastering Microsoft Azure virtual machines. So we cannot master everything in just 1 hour or 2 hours. Okay. So what we are going to do today is this is going to be the thing. We will have a quick overview on these virtual machines, and followed by that, let us also try to deploy a virtual machine both in Windows and Linux platform. And let us try hosting a website into those two different VMs. So that's what the objective is going to be. And trust me, I don't love slides much, so I'll be just jumping off little quick. So let's move on. First of all, I just have to speak about the virtual machines, right? So there are people who might not have a knowledge about the virtual machines. So let's see that. Basically, Azure is something which is completely flexible, where you can deploy resources in different ways. That is, you can deploy virtual machines from Azure portal, or you can deploy virtual machines from any other PowerShell environment, or you can even use some JSON scripts and do your deployments. So here the point is, when you deploy a virtual machine, right, what are all the resources or what are all the services that get created along with it? So virtual machine is not a single entity. So it's going to be like a virtual machine is combination of multiple resources like a virtual network and then a storage account and then a network interface card and a public IP address as well. So it's not like a single thing to learn in a single day. But let's focus on how to create it and how to do some simple tasks over it. So the first question people will think or people imagine is virtual machine is a platform as a service or a software as a service or an infrastructure as a service because it's actually in cloud. So an Azure virtual machine is an infrastructure as a service. So just keep it in your mind. And now why to use a virtual machine? So virtual machines are something which help you to sit and develop applications inside them, or you can just host an application inside a virtual machine. You can host a website into it, or you can deploy a database inside it. So these are some general use cases that you can do with a virtual machine. So now a few things about your Azure virtual machine. So it helps you in scenarios called on-demand service. So let us imagine like all of a sudden you got a requirement to develop an application. So you're not having a machine with Visual Studio. Let us imagine as an example. So what you can do, all of a sudden you can go to Azure portal, you can fire up a virtual machine, and inside the virtual machine you can just simply go and have your Visual Studio community version or a Visual Studio Enterprises version running inside a Windows operating system. So you can fire it up and you can just do your development activity. So that's called your on-demand service. So whenever you want, you will get it. Next thing is about flexibility. So it is completely flexible such that you can define and you can implement it in the way you like to. So you can integrate it with multiple other services in cloud, or if in case you feel like the cost is too much, so you can cut short the cost by choosing only the required features that you want. So it is flexible in that way. And you have other softwares, something called automation, and you have some other features available in cloud that will help you for automating your virtual machines. So that is one reason where you can jump onto Azure virtual machines. And followed by that, the things like the security features and all those things, the thing which is the major part of cloud platform, the security. So these considerations are always taken care by Microsoft, so you can easily trust and you can easily work inside it. And your Azure virtual machines, they provide you different pricing tiers, different sizes, and most importantly they have different configurations. So you can choose the configuration that you want. It can be different operating system or it can be different hardware configuration. So for all your needs, you have an Azure service ready. So now let's see some different purposes for using an Azure virtual machine. So if you look at this, you can use a virtual machine for the development and testing environment as well. So you can just go and deploy a virtual machine, and inside that virtual machine, you can develop your applications, you can test them, you can write code for your application. So in general scenarios like development and testing, you can go for your Azure virtual machines. It doesn't mean that they are only for development and testing. So this is one case, but in case if you want to use a VM for real-time environment, yes, you can do that. So there are pricing tiers that will also help you in these kind of scenarios as well. And next, if in case you want to host any application inside cloud, then Azure Virtual Machine will be the best option for you. So here in our demo, we will be trying to host a website into your virtual machine. So that will give you an idea about, so I can use a virtual machine for hosting a website. So that kind of scenario can be done. And extending your data center. So if in case you like to migrate your on-premises environment to cloud, or you like to bring some of your resources into cloud, so you can use your virtual machines to bring your data directly into the Microsoft Azure cloud platform. That is specifically into the virtual machines. So now one core concept about the Azure portal, okay? So basically Azure portal, if you are very new to Azure, you will not know about this, but Azure is having a vast history where when it began in the year 2010, the journey processed by something called Windows virtual machines, and now it's called as Microsoft Windows virtual machines. And again, if you speak about Azure portal, there was one old portal, and now the portal that we are using, we call it as Azure Resource Manager or the new portal. So this difference is because the way you use it and the way you manage your resources. So in the old portal, it was not easy to manage all your resources, and the reason is that there was not a concept called resource group. So if you look at this image in here, you can see the bottom cube is called resource group. So there was nothing called a resource group. So why in the sense you have this following feature called resource group in your new portal, but in old portal it was not there, which made you to manage your environment. So an example, so let us say now I have this virtual machine, one virtual machine. So virtual machine is a combination of a minimum of virtual network and a storage account. So three of the resources will get together, grouped together, and they will get created. So I'm speaking about the old portal in here. So now my work is done with the VM. Now I'll go and delete this virtual machine. So what happens, my virtual machine will get deleted, but I will not know which virtual network and which storage account of which VM I have to delete. So that was a problem inside my old portal. So then came this new portal, which is Azure Resource Manager. Am I audible? Am I audible for you people?
Yes, Kishore.
Sure, yes.
Thank you. I just
Yes.
got some messages. That's why.
Yeah, Kishore.
Yeah. Thank you. So here, what this new portal did is it just brought up a concept called resource group. So basically, resource group is nothing but a folder in which you can have your resources. So here, what happens inside this resource group? Let us say I'm creating a virtual machine now. So every virtual machine, the network interface card, the virtual network, the storage account, everything will get created inside the resource group. So now if I want to delete this virtual machine, I'll delete this entire resource group. So that is what the concept of this VM creation in new portal is. So not only for VM, but the entire concept of resource group is like that in Azure Preview portal, or we can say it as Azure Resource Manager portal. So now, resource used to set up a VM, I already said this. So you have your virtual machine. So your virtual machine is a service which is in remote location. So you need internet to access that virtual machine. So that connectivity to the internet is provided by this NIC, which we call it as network interface card. So even in your local machine or in your PC, you can find something called network interface card, which will actually help you to connect to internet. So this network interface card, it comes inside the part of a virtual network again. And why a storage account? So very simple, you need an operating system to work inside a machine. So that operating system and the data that you put inside, everything, it is going to be managed by the storage account, right? So you can access this one from the internet using the public IP address of this network interface card. So that's the entire concept through which you can create a VM and then connect to it. Do let me know if you get any doubts. So here is that. I'm just going to have a demo for creating a Windows virtual machine now. So let me know if you get any doubts in the middle. You write a query. Please write the query. That will be fine, because if you unmute yourself and speak, there are a lot of people who are gonna just come and speak along with you. Hope you get understand it. So now I'll just from beginning I'll show you. So to get into your Azure portal, you can go to something like portal.azure.com. So this will take you into the Azure portal. So I'll just take my Azure account. Just I'll sign inside. So here it is. Let's go to this create a resource option in here. And let's find something called compute, which is in here, which will be for virtual machines. And in here, let's choose this Windows Server 2016 data center. So now let's give a name for this virtual machine. I will name this as Dear Azure Demo. And the disk type in here, if you see, there are different disk types, namely HDD and SSD. So we call HDD as hard disk drive, which is the general one that we are using. And SSD is something like solid state drive, which is a very advanced one, where the where the computational speed and the execution will be very fast. So to save some money, I'm choosing this HDD in here. So now in the place of username, right, you have to give an username through which you can log in into your virtual machine. So I'll give a username like this, like Kishore, and I'll give a password. So your password, it should have a small letter, a capital letter, and a symbol. That will be a consideration in here. And it should be at least a minimum of 12 characters. So just try to figure it out. If not, you will be getting a red error in here stating that this is the problem. So next is your subscription. So basically, subscription is something which will help you to create your resource. So in my environment, I have Visual Studio Enterprise 0 as subscription. If you look at this place, the entire subscription has some 4,752 rupees and 33 pice as credits for this month. So now what happened? If I go and create a VM in it, I will be charged in the hourly basis. So depending upon the cost on the size of the VM I'm choosing, for 1 hour, I'll be charged some amount. If I use it for 2 hours, I'll be charged some other amount. That's how the entire thing will be done. So now, this is the important thing which I spoke about in the slide, something called resource group, which you can simply say as virtual folder. So let's create a resource group so that the resources of this entire virtual machine will be staying in a single place. So I'll just create a resource group, namely Windows VM. So it's not a part of this. Oh, okay. So sometimes the names that you've given here, it will not be allowed because maybe Microsoft would have not been allowed to do that names. So you can just simply try using some other names. So I'll just use Windows Demo VM. Even that is not allowed. My demo. Okay, this is possible. So you can give a name like that. Next, location is the one that is going to decide at which location my virtual machine is going to be deployed. So South India is my DNS data center in here. So I'm choosing South India. So my VM will get created inside the South Indian data center. Now you have an option called save money. Basically, this option comes when you have 2 or more VMs or when you have one other VM created inside your subscription. So here I have 3 VMs already created in my subscription. So now what this license does is, rather than spending money for purchasing a license for Windows VM, let me take share with an available VM. So this will literally help me in saving some 49% of the money that I'm going to spend for the OS. That is for licensing. I'll just confirm the agreement and I'll just click on OK. So very simple, just give a name, password, username, choose your subscription and the resource group. So here comes the important point which will decide the total amount that you're going to spend for the virtual machine. So I'll just take you here. So here it is. Let me just show you. So here I have something like B1 standard, that is B1S or the standard type VM. If you see its configuration, it's a general purpose VM with 1 core CPU and 1 GB of RAM with 2 hard disks, or you can simply say data disks. And its output will be like 800 IOPS, that is maximum input output operations per second is going to be 800. And the solid state drive which you get, it will be for 4 GB. And the cost is 737 rupees and 63 pice per month. That means I can simply divide the 763 rupees by maybe some 30 days a month. So you calculate the 30 days into 24 hours. So you divide the 737.63 by those 24 hours, you get a value. So that is what you will be spending for using this virtual machine for 1 hour, which means for every 1 hour, I'll be deducted from this balance. That is from my credits. So that's how the entire concept is. So here, let's go and choose something big, because smaller the configuration, the more time it will take to deploy. So I'm choosing this one, something like B4MS, which is general purpose VM with 4 CPU cores, 16 GB of RAM, 8 data disk, and 7,200 IOPS. So basically it costs me 11,605 rupees and 44 pies a month. So I'm selecting this one so that my deployment will take little quick. That's why. So now here we go. There are different settings in here which will decide how your entire scenario is going to work. Let's look at that. So first comes something called availability set. So I guess I can speak about this availability set in the further webinars, where I'll be speaking about the traffic manager and load balancer. So at that time, let's discuss about this in depth. But for now, I'll say what this is. Basically, these availability sets, they are for the purpose of making redundancy of VMs, like keeping 2 or more VMs for backup. So that's a concept which you can implement with the help of this availability set. But for now, I'm not showing this. Let's look into this availability set once we work with load balancer in the further modules. Okay. So there is also something called high availability. So basically this high availability is a kind of backup, again like your availability set, but it is completely free. So someone is interrupting in here, please mute yourself. It will disturb the audience as well. So how this high availability works in the sense, specifically the high availability zone. So let's consider the India. Let's consider India. In India, Azure has 3 different data centers. So one sec, let me mute someone.
Kishore, you continue. I'm doing those things. I'm
Yeah,
just
please.
checking out. Yeah, you continue.
Yeah, sure. So inside this availability set, right, that is availability zone. Now taking India, so in India we have 3 data centers of Microsoft, namely one is in South India, one is in Central India, and one is in West India. So now when I go and create something like this, right, so basically this is availability zone again. It is not available in all the data centers. So this is going to be available only in that is only in Central India. Here we chose the VM location as South India, if you remember. So that's why we are not able to use this one. So even this one,
Sorry to interrupt. Kishore, hold on. Kishore, hold
yeah.
on. Guys, please, I request you all to go on mute. Like, I know it could have been happened like by mistakenly, but it is disturbing the entire sessions. So I request you all to please go on mute.
Yep, thanks for that. Thanks for that, Mr. Kasam. So coming back, so this availability set, right, availability zone, it will make a backup of your entire virtual machine data in 2 more data centers inside your Indian region. So if I create my VM inside South India, then inside Central Indian data center and West Indian data center, backup of my entire VM will be taken. So it's completely free. You don't have to spend anything for it. It's completely free. The only charges will be taken from you is the internet charges for taking your data from South Indian data center to rest of the 2 data centers. So that will be the only charge you will be spending. Whereas availability set, it is completely different. So this high availability zone and the availability set, I will clearly explain you while we are doing a demo with load balancer in the forthcoming sessions. So for now, just have an idea about this. Next, you have something like storage. So here you can choose HDD or SSD even now, but it is going to affect your plan that you would have chosen. So let it be HDD. So one important thing is in here, something called manager disk, use manager disk, an option called use manager disk. So what it is? So when I choose yes, here Azure is going to manage my data disk. So I don't have to worry. Azure is going to completely manage my data disk. But when I choose no, I'm the one who's going to manage my data disk, which means I have to take the backup of my database or backup of my data, and I have to choose the data disk. I have to create the storage account and everything. So these storage account are something different, which we will discuss later on. But for now, you have a picture. Storage account is something in which your operating system is actually rewrite. So when I choose yes, if you see that option has gone, that means Microsoft will take care of creating the storage account and maintaining the database or maintaining my data inside the storage account. But when I choose no, it is my duty to create a storage account. So let's choose yes. And don't worry, when to choose no is some different concept. Once we complete the module and once we go to the storage part in the forthcoming webinars, that time you will understand when to choose no in this place. So now virtual network, if you see here, without virtual network, a virtual machine cannot work. So this is the virtual network that is getting created by default. See, I didn't give any settings. It is getting created by default. So we'll discuss in depth about this one again, but it is a separate module. So let's stick on to VM part alone. So my VM is going to get created upon a virtual network called mydemo-vnet inside the subnet named default. So I can access my VM through this public IP address. So if you look at this, a new public IP address is got created for my VM. So I will be using this one to access my VM. So I need a public IP address, only then I can make an RDP to my VM. Next, if you scroll down, you have something like network security group. Basically, these are something which will either allow you or block you from accessing your VM or any other resources that are running inside a network. So click on advanced in here and let's choose this default option in here. If you see here, a default network security group will be coming where this is gonna allow. So basically there are two rules, namely inbound and outbound rules. So inbound rule or rules that will allow incoming requests, whereas outbound rule are the rules that are gonna decide the outgoing request from the VM which is gonna get created now. So here what I'm saying, by default RDP rule has been enabled to the port number 3389, which means we can make an RDP to our VM and log in into it. Okay, so let's click on this add an inbound rule and let's add one more rule. I said like we are going to host a website into a virtual machine. So for that, let's go and choose something called basic in here, and in this place I'm choosing HTTP, which means I'm saying to open port number 80 because I'm going to make a HTTP request to my VM to access the website which is hosted inside my virtual machine. So I'm just giving that, and there is something called priority, which means 100 is the first priority. So this rule will be checked first, and if the incoming request is an HTTP request, then it will be allowed inside. So let's click on add in here. So if you see the port 8080 is being allowed, let's click on OK. So these are all the settings that you need to make for the current demo. Now let's scroll down. There is an extension which you can add to VM, but I'll show that in the later parts. So there is an option called enable auto shutdown. Let's turn it off. So this feature, if you kept it enabled, you can turn off or shut down your VM on a specific interval of time that you like to keep. So I'm turning this off. So in boot diagnostics, I'll disable it. Basically, this is for monitoring VM, which we can discuss somewhere later on, where monitoring and maintaining your VM can be done. So if you enable this, a storage account will get created for you, in which when the VM is getting booted, the diagnostic logs of that VM will be maintained inside this. And same way, when you enable this guest OS, then the operating system diagnostics will be maintained inside this. So I'm just disabling this to save cost. If you enable this option called backup in here, you can create a backup and recovery vault directly for your virtual machine. So this is one additional option in here. So I'm not doing it because it's something different apart from the topic. So first let us complete this. In the forthcoming sessions, I'll discuss about all these. So let's click on OK. So now you just have to create your VM. So this is the summary page where you can summarize all the settings that you would have made so far. So if you see here, the configuration which I have chosen, this VM will cost me like 15 rupees and 5987 pies per hour. So I'll just scroll down. If you see, these are the settings that I would have made so far. Let's click on this create button. So if you look at this, maybe in some 5 minutes at most, my virtual machine will get deployed. My Windows virtual machine, it will get deployed. So let's check it out for a while.
So meanwhile, Kishore, like whether the time it is getting deployed, guys, if you have any questions or queries till now, you can just shoot it right now, so we can utilize this time. You
Yep,
don't
that
mind,
will be,
Kishore, right? Fine.
yeah, that will be great. Yep.
Yeah.
Kishore, Manoj here.
Yeah, tell me please.
Yeah. Like creating the VM. So, is it required that being a developer should know how to create a VM, or is it only for the infrastructure guy or the guy who is working in the hardware? So they need
Um,
to be aware of this. Like
it's
how good it will be for a developer to be aware of this.
if you are a developer, in my case, I'll say this scenario. Generally, what happens? I don't use my local machine for deploying a VM. I mean, like to development activities, to develop any application or something. I never use my local machine. The reason is very simple. I want some higher configuration. So here I cannot go and wait for some other person to come and do this, right? So I'll shoot up a VM, I'll choose the required configurations for me. I'll fire up a VM, I'll work inside it. So why a developer should know this one in the sense, there are a lot of settings that you can make inside the VM. So yes, an infra guy can be the one who has to maintain those settings and everything. But when a developer is actually developing an application and hosting that application inside the VM, right? So he will have a clear clutch about what are all the resources that he is utilizing, and what are all the activities that he is going to do. So in those cases, right, if developer has a clear knowledge about provisioning a VM and then making some changes to it, the networking part and everything, then you can even make your work simple. So you don't have to worry about how you have to explain the concept or scenario to the infra guy or some other one who is implementing your VM. So in those cases, it will be very much helpful if even you are a developer. Was my answer sufficient?
Yeah, Kishore. Thank you.
Yep.
Hi Kishore, Ramesh here.
Yeah, please
Uh,
tell me.
it's regarding the high availability. As you mentioned, we'll discuss later, but just small query for me.
Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
saying it will get backed up for multiple data center. Whether
Yeah,
it will create the whole VM or it will back up the only data.
data is enough. Data is the
Only
one which is,
data.
yeah,
So as from my Azure end, it will take the backup from the current running VM to other data centers,
yeah,
right? That's it,
yeah.
right? So
Including your configurations will be there. The configurations of VM will also be there.
yeah, we have some concept in VMware like FT. Is it kind of same technology they are using here, or it's only data backup they are doing?
So what is that FT? Could you just elaborate it?
Just FT means I want an VM. I mean, high in critical VMs, or I have the critical application on that VM, and
Okay.
it is when I create the VM on any ESX, it will automatically create one more VM on another ESX host. If
Yeah.
something
So
goes
this is
wrong, the
actually,
primary,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. This is actually availability set in here.
okay, fine.
Yeah.
So
So
I
this
was
concept
thinking,
is availability set actually. This high
Oh,
availability zone is not the one which you are saying.
okay, fine, fine. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anyone else? So people who don't have any Azure account, right, or people who are attending the webinar for the first time, just go and Google something like Azure free trial. So you will get a website like this. So I'm just sharing this link with you people in the chat. So you people can just go on to this and you can simply just create an free trial account from this one. So I'll go in an incognito window, I'll show you. So all you need to do is click on the start free button. And if you don't have an Azure account, I'm helping you with this one. If you have, it's okay. Just give your mail ID and password. I suggest you to use Microsoft mail ID, so I'll just use this one. Okay, so I'm getting some queries in here, so I'll just quickly complete this and check the queries. Sorry for that. So use a Microsoft mail ID like I'm using. If in case you use Gmail or something, it will insist you to reset the password. So that's why I'm saying that. So here, it will ask you to enter your credit card detail or a debit card detail. And again, you can verify your identity by using your phone number as well. So you will get an Azure account after that. You will be charged 2 rupees just for verification. And again, the 2 rupees will be given back to you in a week. So don't worry, since you are giving a credit card, it doesn't mean that you will be charged. So unless and until you manually go and make your entire resource, right? That is, make your entire subscription to pay as you go, you won't be charged. So you can choose the one you like to in here. And 13,300 will be the credit you will be getting for 1 month. So after a month is over, right? After a month gets over, you can just simply go and don't worry about the subscription. Your subscription will get expired in a month. But even after that, for 1 year, you will be able to go and simply just create free services in Microsoft Azure. So there are many free services in Azure which you can create even if your subscription gets expired, right? So that's a point in here. Hope you will be able to create your subscription from this. I'll just come to this one. Okay, now VM has been deployed. So let's play with that. So I'll just click on this virtual machine option in here. So let me go to resource groups. That will be fine. I have to show you the resource group. So can you see here? So I have some different folders. So here you have your my demo which I created. Let's get into this. If you see here, you will be able to find other resources like my NIC card, network security group, my network, and then my data, which is actually in here in form of a disk and everything. So let's click on this VM that we created. And let's click on the connect button in the overview page. So simply just click on this download RDP file so that you can make an RDP to your VM. So I'm just opening it out. And I'll click on this connect button. So here default username will be your system PC username, so you cannot use it. Click on this more choices, then choose use a different account. Here give an username. So I'm giving my username that I gave while creating this VM, and let's give this password. And I'm just clicking on remember me, and I'll click on the OK button. So here I'll just approve this certificate, and that's all. I'm into my virtual machine. So here I'm in my virtual machine now. So I'll choose yes and no in here just for namesake. So nothing else, I'm not going to do anything. I'll just do one small stuff now. So the stuff is nothing but here, just give me a second, I'll make a quick change. I guess, okay. So here, I'll just show you a small setting that we are going to do inside the VM. And that is for the purpose of just running a website inside this. Okay, it's very simple. I'll just go to start and I'll just open PowerShell in here. And inside the PowerShell, I'm just going to simply run a command, something like add hyphen Windows feature and then name. It will be something like web hyphen server. So if you clearly understand, I went to start and I just created or I just gave a command to create something called a web server. So basically this is a Windows server. It will host a website in this VM, an IAS server. So let that happen. I'll just come in here. So I'll just go to this. So here if you see, I have the IP address of my virtual machine, the public IP. So I'll just go to this one. I'll paste this and I'll hit on enter. So the concept is when I Google this IP address, I should get a response from the virtual machine that I have. So this virtual machine, but not response in the sense it's not going to be something like accessing that VM, but here the response will be a website. So see, I'm not getting the website now, but once after this deployment which is happening inside the virtual machine gets over, you can see my website will be displayed in here. That is, my website will get hosted completely in here and the same will be displayed for me. So people who are attending this webinar in Facebook Live, I guess you would have missed the connecting to VM part. So I'll share the URL through which you can see how to connect to the virtual machine part. So this one step you would have missed. I'm sorry for that. So if you see in the VM now, see here, it's completed. It's showing a true message. So let's go to this machine's local disk E. And in here, right, if you go to this PC and if you just go to local disk C in this, there is a folder called inetperb. So I'll just open it. Inside that, I'll go to www root. So here I'll just open this one, this specific HTML file. There is a website which is going to display now. So basically that is the default IIS web server. So here it is. So now it's completed, right? So I have to get the same website when I Google this. So let's try this out. I'm just closing entirely. I'm closing even the VM. See here. So I'm just trying to access this URL alone. So if you remember, this is the URL of the VM that I have created. So I copied it. I'm coming in here. I'm pasting it. I'm hitting on enter. This takes me into the website that is inside the Windows Server operating system. So this is how you can host a website inside a Windows VM. Okay, so do post any questions if you have, and I'll just show you how you can delete your resources. So I'm done with this VM, so I don't want to incur charges in here. So one option is like I can get into this VM and then I can just click on the stop button so that I will not be charged for using this VM, but I'll be charged only for this data disk. So the total amount of space that I'm using inside this, only for that I'll be charged. The rest of the thing will be not charged, but that is one way. Now I don't want this entire VM. So what I can do, this is my resource group, and here I have this delete resource group option. So I'll click on this. So here is my VM name. That is my resource group name. I'm copying it. I'll paste it in here and I'll just delete this entirely. So what happened? my entire resource group got deleted, which means the VM, the NIC, the IP address, the network, everything is got done. So Anand, PowerShell deployment via PowerShell, I guess I have not prepared with those content. I cannot just jump on directly to that, but I can share you with the commandlets to do that. Okay, I have it. So I don't have slides to do that. So that's why. But I'll show you how to deploy your resources, how to deploy your virtual machines by the use of something called Azure, that is Node.js. Let's try the same with the Node.js. I'll show you. So let it be Noah. Let's come back to the slides. So now moving further, let me just go to that. So next one is about something called SSH key pair. So basically an SSH key pair is something which is used in Linux environment. So these key pairs are the things which people will be using to generate keys and login into the virtual machines in the Linux environment. So that's something which we are going to do now. Let's try it. Let's give it a try. Yes, Naveen Kumar, your network interface card, your virtual network, and then your storage account, everything are connected to the virtual machine. That's right. So now coming back in here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to make a demo of creating a Linux virtual machine. So why we spoke about this in the sense, unlike your Windows machine, people will not use the username and password to log in. They mostly rely upon something called maybe the SSH key pairs. So Hitesh or G, whoever it is, I'm just doing the demo with the Linux VM so you can find the OS options that are available. So here we go. Let me close this. Now I'm going to do a demo for creating a Windows VM. Okay, so I'm just going to do a demo for that.
Hi Kishore, this is Kasam.
Yeah.
Here. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
We have planned this about the Linux VMs for tomorrow's session.
Okay,
So,
okay.
I would request you to put some more info with respect to any queries or concerns with the Windows environment.
Okay,
We
that will
have
be.
only 10 to 20, 15 minutes, so it will be it will not justify
Yeah,
our
yeah, yeah.
topic for Linux then. So
Yeah, I do.
we can go through the Linux options and everything about the SSH key and everything tomorrow in the tomorrow's session. I believe everyone will be interested to join for the Linux session also. So if at all it is possible, we can put on more light on the things or subject related to Windows VM today because
Yeah,
we have
yeah,
only 10 to 15 minutes to close up the session.
yeah. That's fine. That's fine.
Fine.
So then you
So
can post
guys,
your.
so guys, if you have any questions, I think it was a really wonderful session. Many of the myths about Azure virtual machines would have been it would have been cleared right till now. So if you have any questions, don't worry about it would be a silly question or what I'm asking. Everyone is listening. Don't worry because there are everyone who is having the same. There may be everyone would be having the same questions around. So just put on the question. It will help others. And if they are not initiating, you at least ask the question and let him answer. We have got the expert today. We have got their time. Let's utilize it at the most.
Yeah, so I have sent you that command that I used in the demo part. That is to host the IAS server inside the VM as well. I have sent it, so you can just check it out in the chat.
Kishore, attendees are, I believe, posting some questions in the chat windows. I would request you to please go through once.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm looking into it.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, thanks.
So, Kishore, I will ask you. I will ask
Kish-
you one question. Okay, Ramesh, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, Kishore, I know this thing, but I believe we can deploy the VM other than the console in from other ways as well, right?
Yeah.
I've tried from Azure CLI and
Okay.
PowerShell as well. I tried.
Okay.
So I believe there also every same the concept is working, right? Even we can choose
Yeah.
everything existing and
Yeah. Everything can be chosen. You can even use the REST API calls to deploy your resources. That is also possible.
yeah. And the one more you have added, right? PowerShell command.
Yeah,
That also we can do from server manager if
yeah,
we
yeah,
don't know the, yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's all. So I just made it little quick. That's all.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Thank you.
Yep. So Thiru, there is a question like, please share me some previous training videos. So let me just try to get into my YouTube.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, yeah, I'm just training in chat. So I guess in my channel I have few.
Yeah, today while I'm
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Oh,
We do have an YouTube channel where we publish all this recorded videos of webinars. So today's webinar also we will be publishing. I will be like you can go through this videos also for thing, and this recorded session will be published, and I will share the link in the groups and our pages.
thank you.
so here is the channel link. I'm just sharing now. So please find in here. I have a lot of technical videos that are regarding to Microsoft Azure or videos that are regarding to some other technologies as well. So yes, I have shared it. So here it is.
Guys, do visit Kishore's C Sharp Corner profile also. He has an brilliant articles with respect to Azure.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
I'll
will
share
be
that one as well.
okay, fine.
Yeah, thanks for remembering me.
Oh, Kishore, is it your blog, C Sharp?
Yeah, 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 exactly mine.
Yeah, I gone through long time back. It has very basic information regarding Azure. See,
No,
it's
no.
a nice blog. I was not
Yeah,
aware it's your blog.
one sec. Let's see. Oh, this is mine. So I'll just share it to check it. Or maybe I will mostly post videos rather than writing nowadays. So I guess no. See, I have articles, some 44 articles and videos. I have about Docker and everything. So are these basics? These are the articles.
Kishore, someone is like asking me on my personal chat. Sorry to interrupt. Can you
Yeah,
like just brief what is the like difference or the similarities between the concept of VM and container? Like
yeah,
he's
yeah, yeah.
asking, container is
I
very
was
much
about to
same or
answer it
something?
after.
Yeah, please. It will help
Yeah,
others also.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Rukshir, basically, your VM and container, right? I can just give you clearly in terms of a small example. So basically, a VM is something which we will create inside Azure environment or whatever it is. What we are going to do, we are going to virtualize our hardware components. That's what the VM is. But container is something which will help you to virtualize your entire operating system itself. So, for example, right now I have hosted a website into a virtual machine. So it is possibility in there. So you can host a website, and now I have only option. I can go and access that website either using the DNS or the IP address of my VM. But container is something through which you can simply access your entire virtual machine. Okay, not only the virtual machine, but using this point of container, you can simply just make things like you can host some 10 to different websites inside a single operating system. It can be a virtual machine or a local machine. So I can host 10 different applications or 10 different websites inside a single OS. So that's what your container is. In simple words, you're just segregating or you're just breaking your operating system. Got it?
Hey
Great.
Kishore, this side.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Kishore, in the going forward, I mean, in the upcoming session, are we covering the advanced topic like DSC, runbook, and automation, and the scale set?
Yeah, sure. I'll be doing it because in just 1 hour, it's not possible to cover everything. Hope you understand.
Yeah,
See, we have
But
we
I'll
have
sure, for
planned.
sure.
We have sorry to interrupt. We have planned for many of the topics. Like there would be a separate session altogether our Azure CLI, like about like how to create and manage through CLIs. There are many advanced topics which are coming on, but just we wanted to start with and from a very beginner level, and that's the reason we are focusing on much on with first an overview and intro for certain products and services, and then we can go with an intermediate and architect level kind of topics.
Thank you, Kasam. Thank you, Kishore.
Yeah, thank you. So Mukesh, your question is regarding to the how I can go and just monitor my environment or VM. So basically, Mukesh, Azure provides a lot of tools for monitoring. You can monitor your resources directly from portal itself. So those points of monitoring your resources, I might try to share with you people in the later part, I guess. Okay, maybe not now, but somewhere in the later part, I'll share that.
Hi Kishore, Ankush this side.
Yeah, please tell me.
Yeah, so I have one question. For example, I'm working as a IaaS administrator or IaaS engineer in a company. So what would be my total job responsibility if I talk about only IaaS, apart from creating virtual
So,
machine, managing the virtual machine? So what
so
would be my
you're completely
duties?
responsible for the entire the entire things like let us say like a VM in which you host whatever the resource or a Hadoop cluster or a storage account or the backup and recovery services. So these things, right? You are the one who is responsible for implementing all these part. So in simple words, even though you are an IaaS engineer, it doesn't mean that you are going to just work in the IaaS platform. You are responsible for creating a web app and then staging parts in it, that is continuous integration and deployment concepts in it. So mostly everything. So if you are an IaaS engineer, you're the one who is responsible for creating every service that falls under the cloud platform, especially in the Azure environment.
Okay, so it would not include the coding part, right?
No. Coding is not there, but maybe you might use only one or two commands, not much. Somewhere some commands.
Okay, so in our upcoming session, can we include something like if we want we want to migrate on-premises VM to the Azure, something like that, if we can do that.
Yeah, we can do that, but right now I think it is a far advanced topic. But I'll help you with that. So if in case it's something urgent for you to learn, I'll share you a doc. Just write a message. I'll share you a doc. It's something called Azure Lift and Shift. You can even Google it. You will be able to get it. Even I'll try to send it now. So that one will help you to migrate your VMs and everything.
Okay, thank you.
So right now, if I go and speak about this, it's not an easy task. So people who are new, right, they might feel it hard. So I'm sharing a link. Check it out. I sent it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there are a few questions. Ankush, our difference between the availability zone and availability set. Well, I'll speak about this when we come to this session, I guess. Okay? Because once we do it as a demo, only then you will understand this.
Kishore, one question is coming on from here. Like, is there any other way to connect VM apart from the RDP connect which you showed? Is there any another way to connect the VM?
Connect in the sense like getting into the VM and working, right?
Yes, like do any kind of task, like starting up this process or something.
No. That is why we have something like desired state configuration. So don't want to go and get inside the VM and work. So you can use that extension called desired state configuration. Rather than connecting directly to the VM, you can use it without touching the VM. You can execute your task. It is possible.
Okay, is there any way like the one we have in Azure Web Apps, like if it is not in use, it goes down, it in a sleeping state. So is there any provision in creating like Azure VMs, like if we are not using it for a long time, if we have not logged in, it goes in a sleep state or in a
No,
stop state?
virtual
Is there
machine
any?
never goes down.
Okay.
Yeah. In web apps,
But
you have that.
we can automate it for getting it shut down, right? At particular
Yeah,
time and again
you
getting
can
it
do
restart at particular time, right?
that. That is possible. That is possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we are good with today's session. It's
Yeah.
guys, if you still have any questions, don't worry. We will be joining tomorrow again with Kishore, and it will be like mastering the Microsoft Azure Linux virtual machines. You will be like you have just got an essence of what at all virtual machines are. It is very interesting topic, and believe me, it's a very vast topic. Kishore has handled it very like it is amazing to see. Like we have covered almost all the things in a very short span, but we will surely plan it out to have all the topics like about the availability set and all those things.
Yeah.
So let's join tomorrow again at the same time, 11:30 a.m. IST. For getting you can just I will be publishing this video. You can see the YouTube channel link on your screen. I will be publishing this video in 1 or 2 hours, so you can go through this video again. And if you have any doubts or concerns, just note it down and let's get clear from it from Kishore himself from and tomorrow. So
Yep.
thank you again, Kishore, for giving your
Yep.
valuable
Thank
time.
Sorry, one last question, Kasam. Manoj
you.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Manoj, go
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Right now, you said about doing VM can be shut down and it can be restarted. So whether that will also cost me something, like if I'm just shutting it down.
Shutting your VM will not cost you. Basically, shutting will cost you. Sorry for that. So there are two options if you remember inside your VM. In the overview page, there was an option called shutdown, and there was another option called stop. If you remember. So shutdown will actually turn your VM off, but not the resources will be left. But when you stop it, the resources will be left off. So there you will not be charged.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
That's it. That's it.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you, Manoj. Thank you, Kishore. So I will be ending the session. Guys, please do continue joining the sessions. It really motivates everyone over here, and let's grow in the Azure. Thank you joining. Thank you. Bye
Yep.
bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks all. Bye.